And Meredith, there was a little different tone post-game last night. Did you sense that was just because of the loss or because of the bigger picture idea that by not winning, they diminished their own playoff hopes?
Bob, I think it's the biggest picture. Joe Girardi said today, look, these players would have to have their head in the sand to not know what's going on, to not know where they are in the standings right now. And if you look at things, they're 3.5 games back. They have to jump over teams, and they have just 11 left to play. So time is running out. I heard you talking about the calendar, and these guys know it. They look at last night as a lost opportunity, perhaps a game they could have and should have won. And, Jack, you talked about the early innings where they had some shots against R.A. Dickey, and they weren't able to take advantage, weren't able to get the big hit, and Dickey went on to throw fantastic. In fact, Josh Tolley said after the game that that's probably the best that he has thrown all year. He struck out 8. The Yankees managed just 4 hits against him, so it was something where they were really feeling that loss hard last night. And Alfonso Soriano was one of the guys after the game that really made his opinion heard, but said, look, we're down, but we're certainly not out of this thing yet.
We ain't, because it's only like 2 or 3 games behind, so and 11 games left, so it's depend on us. If we wanna play hard and we wanna keep grinding, we can do it. But it's depend on us. It's gotta work hard and play tomorrow with more energy and try to do those little things that we not do tonight. But like I said, it's depend on us. So it's 11 games, and if we have a good round, we in. If it's not, we go home.
And Alfonso Soriano said some interesting words last night. We need to play with a little bit more energy. Now, I asked Joe Girardi earlier today if he thought his team was flat last night, if they lacked energy, and here's his response.
I didn't. When you don't score runs and you don't have many base runners after 2 innings, there aren't a whole lot of high fives in here. I mean, we don't give high fives for making outs. That's something. I hear guys cheering, but we didn't do nothing last night. We didn't score any runs. And, the atmosphere is obviously a little bit different here than in what we were the last 3 days as well, too. So, that combination, maybe he felt that way. It's another situation you'd have to have your head in the sand not to know. Or you just showed up here and you were on a deserted island, one or the other. So if you're not aware of that, then I don't know where you've been.
And regardless of how you look at it, this team needs to play some better baseball. They've now lost 4 in a row. They need to find a way to stop the bleeding, and it all starts with the starting pitching, and it'll be Phil Hughes who gets the ball this evening. And I think one of the things that hurt so much about last night, guys, is the fact that Andy Pettitte gave him 6 2/3, allowed just 1 run. So they got that starting pitching, and the offense just wasn't able to come through.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Meredith. They let that Pettitte start slip away. But I wanted to get back to Hughes. How much of a tag team might we see again with Hughes and then Huff out of the bullpen tonight?
Jack, I think that's exactly what you're going to see. If you look at Phil Hughes throughout the past couple times he was moved to the bullpen, really hasn't thrown more than 70 pitches since back in late August. So last time out against Baltimore, he threw 50 pitches, went 3 innings, allowed a run, didn't walk any batters. And as soon as Joe Girardi saw any sign of trouble, he was out there on the mound getting Phil Hughes, knowing that he has David Huff in that bullpen. And look, Huff has pitched very well out of the bullpen, has been able to give them multiple innings. So I think that's exactly what you're going to see this evening. In the event that Phil Hughes gets in any type of trouble, Joe Girardi is not going to waste any time and is not going to hesitate in going to David Huff. Now, Joe Girardi was asked, will Phil Hughes be on a pitch count at all? Because last time he said he didn't think he was going to throw all that many pitches, and Joe Girardi kind of alluded to the fact that he doesn't think he's going to throw 100 pitches, but it's going to be based on how he feels and how he looks and how he's executing pitches, and then they'll kind of go from there. Phil Hughes is a guy that has had a history throughout the course of the season and really throughout the course of his career. He gets in favorable counts against batters, and then he's not able to put them away. So if he can get this Blue Jays team to chase a little bit and to chase that fastball, if he has a little bit of faith in his breaking pitches and he's able to get some quick outs, you may see Phil Hughes a little longer than people may have thought originally going into this one.
Meredith, the Yankees have a third baseman in Alex Rodriguez who's been limited to being a DH lately, and they have a left-handed reliever in Boone Logan who's been totally limited and hasn't been able to pitch lately. What's the update on those 2 players?
Well, Alex Rodriguez is in the lineup again today, but he is DHing. And, Jack, I wouldn't expect to see him in the field anytime soon. After the game last night, he was asked how his calf was. Now, consider he's also nursing that hamstring injury as well. And he said, right now, I'm okay, but I'm just trying to stay in the lineup. I'm not really concerned about getting back out there in the field. So he seems like a guy that's really pushing himself to remain in that lineup, that's hurting right now and really doesn't have his legs under him. Now, they still believe that he can be an asset offensively, or else he wouldn't be in the lineup, but I think Joe Girardi is going to be extremely careful with him, knowing how big that right-handed bat is in the lineup. As far as Boone Logan is concerned, he threw about a 30-pitch bullpen session today, and he said it was okay. Look, that elbow is never going to feel good right now. As you see him right there, he has a bone spur. He's going to have to get it taken care of after the season, but now it's just whether or not he can tolerate the pain and whether or not he can be effective while doing so. And he said, look, it's good enough right now. I want to get back out there. So he'll have the day off tomorrow, and then depending on how that elbow feels, he thinks he'll be available out of the pen come Friday.
All right, that would be good news. Now, as for tonight, Alex Rodriguez, you mentioned in there as the DH. Joe Girardi's been putting him in that 2 spot. Is he back in there tonight? What does the lineup look like around him?
Bobby is back in there in the 2-spot DHing, as you had mentioned, but there is a little bit of a surprise towards the bottom of the lineup. So let's take a look at the Yankees lineup presented by Lexus. And Curtis Granderson once again leading off and playing center field. Alex Rodriguez, your DH. Robinson Cano batting third and playing second base. Alfonso Soriano, your cleanup hitter, and playing left field. Vernon Wells in the lineup against the lefty. He'll play right field. Mark Reynolds in there at first base. Eduardo Nunez playing third base this evening. Now, J.R. Murphy, the young catcher, in there starting batting 8th. I asked Joe Girardi exactly why he decided to go with J.R. Murphy, and he said he felt as though Chris Stewart needed a little bit of a rest. Also, he's liked what Murphy has done lately. He says he feels like he's a guy that goes out there and takes it all in stride. He doesn't feel as though he's going to have any trouble. And I asked him not necessarily knowing this pitching staff, how difficult is that? And he said he doesn't believe that will be an issue at all. He has worked with these pitchers a little bit, throwing as they threw bullpen sessions, and he said the biggest thing probably is learning the hitters on the other side and what pitchers like to do against them, but they have worked with him a lot in that regard, so they're pretty confident that J.R. Murphy is going to be the guy that's going to be able to get it done. But very interesting, with just 11 games left, they're not going with Stewart here. They're going with the young guy in J.R. Murphy.
Yeah, he's got to go with the guy he thinks is probably healthiest at this point. All right, Meredith, have a great night. Jack and I look forward to seeing you again on the post game later on.
I'll be looking forward to it as well, guys.